Good morning. It's 11 o'clock and we are going to get started. Welcome to the California High-Speed Rail Authority pre-bid conference for the request for qualifications for the Independent Safety Assessor Services. My name is Alice Rodriguez. I'm the Deputy Director of External Affairs and I'm going to get us started. Next slide, please. Okay. So I've already done my welcome. I'm glad you could join us this morning. Let's go over the agenda. So I'm going to do a few slides once I do these first kind of housekeeping slides on just a real high-level project overview. Then we'll be followed up with Katrina Blair, who's our Chief of the Process and Program Development Branch, and she's going to go over our small business program. Dominique Rulans, who's our Deputy Chief of Rail and Operations Delivery, is going to actually talk about the procurement itself, review that. Followed up with Tanya Southern, one of our attorneys in our legal office, who's going to go over our organizational conflict of interest. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so there are two events today, the virtual pre-bid that's happening right now that you've just joined. And then at 1 o'clock, you are welcome to join a virtual small business workshop. This attendance to this event is not mandatory, but if you would like to, if you go to our website, hsr.ca.gov, our homepage, then select business opportunities. And then if you select this procurement, Independent Safety Assessor Services, you'll find a link there. So feel free to register. And again, that's at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Okay, next slide, please. I'll go ahead and grab your cell phones if you want to take a look and of that QR code and take a quick link to that web page. But here's also some information on how to get there. So the web page is listed at the top. Or again, you can go to hsr.ca.gov, our homepage, select business opportunities, and then independent safety assessors. It's going to be listed under contract opportunities. It's very easy to find. That web page will include video of this pre-bid conference and also the small business workshop that will follow at 1 o'clock. The PowerPoint presentation will also be there, as will the registrant list for today's event. You will need to give us a couple of days to get all those elements listed on the website. You can submit your procurement questions to Crystal McCain at isarail@hsr.ca.gov. And those questions are going to be due by Friday, March 22nd. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. All right, let's go ahead and do a little or not a deep dive, a high dive into our project overview. Let's go ahead and go through the next slide. It's just a few slides to just give you a high-level overview of the project for those of you that maybe aren't familiar. Go ahead and look at that dark blue line running through California from San Francisco down to Los Angeles and Anaheim. That is 494 miles of phase 1, which is what we're working on now. Phase 2 does extend to the north to Sacramento from Merced and then into the south into San Diego. But that is phase 2. Speeds traveling at approximately 220 miles per hour for our system with up to 24 stations to service passengers. Next slide, please. All right, so kind of a little bit of progress where we are now. You'll see 119 miles in that highlighted in yellow right down the central part of that spine from Madera to what's called Poplar Avenue, just north of Bakersfield. 52 miles is under advanced design in that highlighted blue, light blue section from Madera to Merced in the north, and then from Poplar Avenue down to Bakersfield. That's under advanced design now. So we are environmentally clearing the full 494, so a lot of effort going there. We have a 422 already environmentally cleared. And then our next project section will be environmentally cleared later this summer, getting us clearance all the way from San Francisco to Los Angeles, which is very exciting. We have some bookend projects happening. You can see Caltrain electrification in the north, electrifying those tracks so there will be a shared corridor. Los Angeles Union Station is going through some massive improvements and changes. We are a funding partner there to change them from a stub end station to pass-through tracks. And then there's multiple grade separations happening along the state as well. Station design is underway in the Central Valley, which is quite exciting to start to see some of those renderings from our stations. You can see those images and renderings on our website. Merced, Fresno, Kings Tulare, and Bakersfield, those things are coming along. We're very excited about that. And then also, I know this is a question we get often. We do have an MOU with Brightline West. That's the service, high-speed rail service that would connect Southern California to Las Vegas. And it's an interoperability MOU with that service as well. So yes, separate project, but we are in conversation. All right, next slide, please. Some highlights, some numbers here. Currently 12,900 plus. Actually, I'd be willing to bet we've already passed the 13,000 mark of construction jobs that we've created since construction began. We have set in 2024 already record number of workers that are getting dispatched daily. I want to say it's somewhere in the 1,500 range. But again, that varies. 24 active construction sites. Those are always, that number is always changing depending on what's coming online and what's getting completed. We average 70% of our workers are coming from disadvantaged communities, really working to get workers in, be an economic driver in the Central Valley. Something we're very proud of. So far to date, we've employed 840 small businesses. Katrina is going to talk a little bit more about that program in just a minute. Of that, 291 are what we call DBEs, or disadvantaged business enterprises. 103 are disabled veteran-owned firms. And again, this is just like with our disadvantaged workers, it's an area where we're very proud of that wealth creation happening in disadvantaged communities along the alignment. And leading in sustainability, again, something that we're extremely proud of and feeling like we're leading in the nation here on mega projects. We currently require our construction firms to use Tier 4 equipment. That's the cleanest form of equipment out on the market. We reduced vehicle miles traveled. We'll run at 100% on renewable energy. And we are recognized as a platinum sustainable infrastructure project, which we're very proud of. Next slide, please. All right, let me go ahead and turn it over to Katrina Blair. Thanks.
Thank you, Alice. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katrina Blair, and I'm the Chief of Process and Program Development Branch, and I oversee the Small Business Program. Some of you may know Chardonnay Valley, who is on my team, and she is our department's small business advocate. And she and her team will be your point of contact for all your small business needs. And on the bottom of the slide here, you'll find my team's contact email. Next slide, please. As you can see here, we have a good number of businesses that have already performed on the contract or on the project, a total of 840, as Alice mentioned earlier, and they come from all over the state. And it designates where they're generally located within California. We also have 29 businesses that are from outside of the state. So in order to meet your goal and in accordance with the Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business and Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, as we refer to it as SBDVBE, a lot of acronyms, you will need to designate a small business officer that is responsible for being the point of contact for all things small business, DVBE, and DBE. This person will work closely with my small business team. And once your contract is executed, a small business officer should be designated, and my team will then hold a kickoff meeting to go deeper into the small business requirements and give you a little more detail as to what's required throughout the life of your contract. And so previously, the authority had a 30% overall goal, which was inclusive of 10% DBE and 3% DVBE. The authority's board of directors approved a goal change to the program, and all contracts executed after November 2nd, 2023 will have a new goal structure. So each contract goal will be expressed separately based on federal and state requirements. Next slide, please. So this gives an example of what I spoke about on the previous slide. So for blended contracts, which is currently how the majority of the authority's contracts are classified, and you'll see right here on the left column, they contain both state and federal dollars, which include grants. And that is, as I mentioned earlier, since that's how we, most of our contracts are executed as blended, We will continue to apply a 3% DVBE and a 10% DBE goal, which is applied across total contract value. But also we will apply a 25% small business goal on the state portion of the contract. Of that 25%, we will also carve out a 3% micro business goal as outlined here on the slide. Please note that this contract actually has blended funds, and therefore this goal application on the left in the left column is how we will apply goals on this contract. And then as you can see on the slide, it gives examples of how the goals will be applied if there's either 100% state or 100% federal funds. Next slide, please. The authority is committed to diversity, and we have a wide range of certified firms on this project, but we are not a certifying agency. We partner with a couple of different agencies to utilize their certifications. And as you see listed here on the slide, we've got quite a few here, about 5 certifications that we accept. So anytime you want to bring a business on board, they have to be certified with the departments here, and their certification must be current and valid. You will want to make sure that throughout the time your small businesses are performing on the contract, that their certifications are up to date. Most of these certifications carry from a 1 to 2 year term before they need to be renewed, but it's their responsibility to make sure that their certifications are current. So the California Department of General Services, or DGS, offers the small business certification, micro business certification, and small business for the purpose of public works, which we refer to as SBPW. And this particular certification is for firms who specifically work on public works projects. And this certification is also beneficial for firms that have been on our project and have graduated from the small business program, they grew essentially as a result of this project. So the SBPW goes up to 38 million in gross annual receipts, and firms can still qualify as a small business. DGS also offers the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise certification as well. The California Unified Certification Program, or CUCP, that program manages the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification. And that certification is offered by a consortium of agencies throughout California. Caltrans is the agency in Sacramento that offers the certification statewide. There are various other agencies that offer the CUCP or DBE certification statewide, including Bay Area Rapid Transit, or BART as we refer to it, and in Southern California, LA Metro. So businesses are able to choose the agency in their region. If you have any firms that are trying to join your team with the certification, please let them know that it takes several months to get certified. And just keeping in mind that anything federal will take longer to process, but these certifications here are the only certifications that we accept. And they do have to be certified at the time that they're brought onto the contract, during execution, and throughout the duration of the contract. Next slide. The authority does not prohibit sub-consultants or subcontractors being exclusive to one offeror, but we do strongly discourage this practice. Next slide. One of the best ways for businesses to stay connected to high-speed rail is through our Connect HSR vendor registry. So we encourage all businesses to register with Connect HSR. It's free, it's done online, it's simple to complete, and businesses who register will be notified of opportunities and workshops hosted by High-Speed Rail and other agency partners, and can learn about how High-Speed Rail does business. So we encourage businesses to join and register, and if you need information on getting registered, my team can certainly help you with the process. Next slide. And as Alice mentioned earlier, the Small Business Program will be hosting a small business workshop today from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. This workshop will provide an overview of the small business compliance and certification criteria, so you'll have an opportunity to ask questions about the small business program. So please join us by registering using the QR code on the screen, and we look forward to seeing you there. So thank you for your time today. If you have any questions specific to the small business program, feel free to email us at svprogram@hsr.ca.gov. And that concludes my portion. I'll now turn it over to Dominique Rulins.
Hello, good morning. I'm Dominique Rulins. I am the Deputy Chief of Rail and Operation here at the California High-Speed Rail Authority. And I will introduce you to the procurement that we are launching, or we launched last week concerning the Independent Safety Assessor. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this procurement is to receive a statement of qualification from a qualified operator for Independent Safety Assessor Service. The purpose is to award an agreement to one successful offerer to provide an independent safety analysis of railway systems that verify through an independent certification process that the system that is delivered into revenue service is safe, reliable for passenger, employee, and general public. I have to say that the authority already has his own certification process. The purpose here is to have an independent assessment of all the processes around safety and system safety in order to support or request to the Federal Railroad Administration to open to service. This professional service contract is to provide independent safety analysis of the railway system, including the infrastructure, and verify that the system delivered into revenue is safe, secure, and reliable for passenger, employee, and the general public. Next slide, please. So the contract term is 6 years and 5 months. The total contract value is not to exceed $9.4 million US dollars. This is a qualification-based procurement. Fair and reasonable fees and costs will be negotiated with the top-ranked offerer prior to executing of the contract. This contractor will have to comply with the current small business program requirement as just described by Katrina. Next slide, please. So the scope of the work is to provide the independent safety analysis of the railway system through independent certification process all along the route that is for now under construction and design. So Madeira to Poplar Avenue on the construction, and Merced to Bakersfield for the design. But also the authority program will evolve, and at its sole discretion, the authority may add additional geographic location to the scope of work as necessary to extend the scope of work from San Francisco to Anaheim eventually. So yes, as described at the beginning by Alice, for now we have 119 miles under construction, where we are already supervising a civil contractor who are executing that construction. And we also have 50 more miles under design, where we are reviewing design provided by a consultant, and we are entering the final design process very soon on these sections. The RFQ scope of work is available on the calprocure.ca.gov website as with the link as provided here under. The procurement number is HSR 2342. Next slide, please. The statement of qualification will be evaluated on scored by the Authority Evaluation Selection Committee pursuant to established criteria in the RFQ. The authority expects the consultant to have experience in a position of responsibility related to the safety assessment of system engineering and safety assessment of rail system delivery project of similar scope and complexity as our existing project. A pre-award review of the cost proposal rate sheet will be conducted concurrently with negotiation prior to contract execution. The successful consultant and its sub-consultant, will earn a flat fixed fee of 9% during the term of the contract. Next slide, please. So here you have a resume of all the procurement process detail. So as I said, you have the link to the eProcure website, where also the date of the procurement are indicated, but we will come in the next slide on these dates. You also have access to the procurement through the authority website. And you have the link here indicated on the sheet. And all the information for the pre-bid conference and small business workshop will be posted on the authority website as indicated before. And any question to the procurement are to be sent to Crystal McCain at isarel@hsr.ca.gov by Friday, March 22nd. Next slide. So the schedule of the process, the procurement was released on March 11, last week. We have the pre-bid conference and small business information workshop today. The deadline for the question will be on March 22nd, as just indicated. The statement of qualification are due by May 14th. Following evaluation of this SOQ, we will send invitation to discuss by May 30th. We will organize an interview with the offerer on June 5th and 6th. And the anticipated notice to propose award will be released a few days later in June 24. And the contract execution and insurance of MTP is due by August 24. All that schedule is available in table 1 of the section 3 of the RFQ even with more detail. And now I will pass to Tanya Saucerne that will spoke with you about the conflict of interest.
Thank you, Dominique. So I'm trying to get my video to come on. Hopefully you can see me now. I want to thank everyone for attending today. I am Tanya Southern. I'm an attorney for the California High-Speed Rail Authority. And as some of you may have questions about the organizational conflict of interest, policy, and procedures, I'm going to go over that process in these slides. Next slide, please. What is an organizational conflict of interest and why do we need it? We're going to address that that in these next couple of slides. All entities desiring to enter into a contract with the authority are required to comply with its organizational conflict of interest policy. And it's required under our federal grants, and it ensures fair and transparent procurement process. It maximizes competition and minimizes bid protests. It also ensures compliance with state and federal procurement laws and regulations. Our original OCOI, as we'll call it, policy was adopted in 2011, and it was recently updated in 2023. Next slide, please. An OCOI is defined in the policy as a circumstance arising out of a contractor or consultant's existing or past activities, business or financial interest, familial relationships, contractual relationships, and organizational structure. And it is something that would result in impairment or potential impairment of the contractor's ability to render impartial assistance or advice to the authority, or of being objective in performing its work for the authority. It also is an unfair competitive advantage for any contractor bidding or proposing on an authority procurement, or it's a perception or appearance of impropriety with respect to any of the authority's procurements or contracts, or with a perception of appearance of unfair competitive advantage with respect to a procurement, and it's regardless of whether any such perception is accurate. Next slide, please. Organizational conflicts of interest are two general situations that we see, and the first is where a contractor has an unfair competitive advantage. We have two examples here. The first one is a contractor has inside or non-public information about a procurement, and a contractor provides services related to a procurement and then bids on it. A contractor's objectivity in performing its contractual obligations for the authority would be compromised such that it could not provide impartial assistance or advice. An example here is a contractor has an existing contract with the authority. We're calling it Contract A. And if it is awarded Contract B, it ends up being in a position to oversee its own work on that contract, and you cannot mitigate it. Next slide, please. The authority's organizational conflict of interest policy is flexible. Some people are surprised to learn that, but we always try and see if something can be mitigated. So a common misperception is that a lot of contractors are generally conflicted out simply because they currently provide work under an existing contract, or they have provided work under a prior contract on the project. While some conflicts cannot be mitigated, the vast majority of our OCOI determinations find that a contractor may participate in the desired procurement and resulting contract. The OCOI policy states that the authority recognizes that its goals must be balanced against the need to not unnecessarily restrict the pool of potential proposers or bidders available. Proposers and bidders are used in the conflict policy. However, it's offerers, as with this RFQ. If a potential conflict is recognized, the board policy requires consideration of numerous factors to determine whether the contractor may participate in the contract and whether mitigation or safeguards may be implemented to permit participation. And such safeguards are commonly applied to allow participation and include measures like ethical walls and release of work product. In this regard, many times we consult the authority's engineers, contract managers, or others that will be working on that contract in order to determine if we can enact these types of mitigation measures. Next slide, please. A little bit more detail about the review process. If you are interested or have an existing contract with the authority, please review section 3.7 of this RFQ. We also have a link on this slide that is to the current organizational conflict of interest policy. If the interested contractor or consultant has any concerns that it may have an actual or perceived conflict of interest, it should request a determination from the authority, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. I do want to be clear, though, advanced or pre-clearance is not necessary if there are no concerns regarding an actual or perceived conflict of interest. Example, A contractor has never worked on the high-speed rail project, has no existing contracts, and has no financial affiliations with any of the authority's contractors. In conjunction with the participation and related to the Statement of Qualifications submission, all interested contractors will submit a Form C, Organizational Conflict of Interest Disclosure Statement, in which it will either disclose potential conflicts or indicate that it has none to disclose. If a party filling out this form does have a current authority contract, you should be at least disclosing that on your statement, and then you can still say the reasons why you don't think it's a conflict. Or if you have a clearance, you can also indicate that you have current contract or contracts and indicate the date that you received a conflict determination from the Chief Counsel. We'll go over that next, so if you could go to the next slide. How do you request a determination? Again, if you're looking at section 3.7 of the RFQ, it goes over this, but this slide does as well. So any request for a conflict determination should be submitted to the authority's Chief Counsel, Alicia Fowler, at our email box, which is legal@hsr.ca.gov. And if you would indicate this RFQ, that would be appreciated. It's HSR 23-42. Don't forget, as indicated in section 3.7, when you are submitting a determination request, please provide a response to the information and/or documents that are requested in the Organizational Conflict of Interest Checklist, items 1 through 8 in that section. And that is helpful because otherwise we have to ensure that we have all the relevant facts. So we do use that, and we will ask you for that if you neglect to include it. So it's greatly appreciated and will not slow down the process. Next, the authority's conflict determination process includes these steps. After a request is received, we commence an investigation and analysis, including, if required, any potential mitigation options. And this is all performed by the attorneys working with the Chief Counsel's office. The requester will often be asked for additional information and/or documents necessary for the OCOI determination. That's why the information in the checklist, items 1 through 8, is essential. Sometimes we may have additional questions depending on the responses or our investigation, but that will usually guarantee that we have most of the information that would be required for the analysis to be developed. Next, the Chief Counsel makes the final determination and informs the requester by a letter, which will discuss the relevant facts applicable to the OCOI policy and provisions. Lastly, if a requester thinks that the determination may not be correct or that there are additional facts or information not disclosed to evaluate the determination, you may feel free to contact the Chief Counsel to raise any additional relevant facts or information, and we will gladly reevaluate for you. Next slide, please. With this, I am going to be passing it back to Alice for a recap.
Thank you, Tanya. And thank you, Katrina and Dominique as well for all that information. We hope that you found it informational. I don't know what to say. Hope we found it useful. Again, these materials are going to go on our website. That web address is there listed at the very top. You can follow that path by going to hsr.ca.gov. That's our homepage. And then business opportunities, and then Independent Safety Assessor Services under contract opportunities. Grab your cell phones and take a picture of the QR code. That'll also link you right to that. A video of this pre-bid will be on there, along with the small business workshop that begins at 1 o'clock. There's also a link to the registration for that small business workshop on the address above, following that same path. hsr.ca.gov, business opportunities, and then Independent Safety Assessor. You'll see a link to get yourself registered for that should you want to join. The PowerPoint will also be up on the website, along with the list of all of the registrants for today's event. Questions are due by March 22nd, and those are going to go to Crystal McCain at isarail@hsr.ca.gov. And with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great afternoon.